When the road to commercialization of the traveling wave reactor, TWR, was opened, the Russian press as well as the media around the world reported it extensively. With this incident, the potential of Russia's nuclear physics has been confirmed once again. Just because a TWR was created, it does not mean that it can replace a nuclear power plant that is in operation right away. However, TWR will become the mainstream for nuclear power plants to be built in the future. This is because it has advantages over existing nuclear power plants in all respects. As it is a new technology, there are concerns that we do not know what problems will arise when it is operated in the long term, but these concerns will disappear in the next 1 or 2 years. I spoke to Professor Petrov. You did it in the end. Rather than rejoicing, he said in a calm voice. Thanks to the representative. This is where it starts. The development of technology is not the end. TWR is not an over-the-top technology that transcends any era, or a unique technology that no one can develop. The concept was already out there and several companies were experimenting with it. Professor Petrov's team, which received overwhelming support from Rosatom, succeeded only in the first place. Experiments are already underway in the United States, China, and France. In 3 years at the most, other countries will also commercialize TWR. Therefore, it is necessary to widen the technology gap as much as possible and occupy a large share. To this end, nuclear power companies from various countries were involved in the project. My father made Russia a nuclear power. Now I want to make Russia a nuclear power plant. He raised the Russian one-gene technology, which had been lagging behind, to the best in the world. The success of the TWR guaranteed him enormous wealth. As a nuclear physicist, he was also the top bodyguard of the Russian government. I will do my best to help. Congratulatory calls from all walks of life were received from OTK company, and large-scale protests from environmental groups were held in Gwangwon. The Korean government was cautious in fear that the controversy over nuclear denuclearization would grow again. I headed to Namsan Salon Hotel to meet her mother. Today I was alone for some reason without friends. Are you the boss, Slim Sumi? Don't talk. Sumi-san is very busy these days. I haven't even seen her face in days. This is all because of you. Why me? You said that you are developing Simangium, so Sumi has been busy. Isn't it because of the arrest of Chairman Im Jin-yong rather than that? After Chairman Im Jin-yong was arrested, the management of each affiliate is taken care of. President Lim Sumi took on even the smallest tasks within the group in a busy situation with investment in a theme park, complex resort, and Silver Town to be built in Simangium. Taking care of my existing business, going to the Gangnam office building, Simangium, and even overseas business trips. Even 10 would not be enough for the body. But what about Chairman Im Jin-yong? I don't know. It seems that all the other wives are also concerned. Okay. For anyone in the business world, this may not be the case. In a joint stock company, management and ownership are separated. No matter who runs the business, the company is owned by the shareholders who own the stock. However, in Korea there is a tendency to equate the two. This is because there has been a hereditary system in which a group of blood relatives called chaebols work together to manage the business and pass the company on to their children. So, if the president commits a crime and gets caught, the company will go bankrupt and the country will go bankrupt. The interesting fact is that not only the people but also the parties are mistaken. So he took it for granted to use the corporate car as if it were an individual car, or to use the company money as if it were personal money. In addition, if the children set up a company, the company's wealth was naturally handed over in a way that drove work through private contracts without competitive bidding. In fact, not 1 or 2 companies have grown into large corporations by doing so. If your son's company receives 10,000 won for a part that can be delivered at 7,000 won elsewhere, it means that the company actually suffers a loss of 3,000 won. This is a breach of trust that inflicts losses on other shareholders. The reason these things have been done as usual is because there was no problem even doing this. The media was on the side of the chaebols and the government knew it and tolerated it. However, when Chairman Im Jin-yong was arrested, the chaebol took control of the illegal activities, such as destroying evidence or enforcing a crackdown. You don't know when it will come out yet? You have to go to trial to find out. The one thing that is fortunate for Chairman Im Jin-yong is that even if he is found guilty in the first trial, there will be no problem with the management rights of Seosung Group. There are other companies that need to worry about management rights. At one time, the Unsung Motor Group was competing with the Susong Group for the second place in the business world. However, while the Susong Group continued to hit and rise, the Unsung Motor Group fell to the point where they did not know where the bottom was. There are several causes, but the root cause was management failure. While Unsung Motors was focused on the development of hydrogen cars, electric vehicles took the lead in future cars. The era of autonomous driving and driverless cars has begun, and a new service called ride-sharing has emerged. Evair, who started the business without a single car, overtook the market cap of Unsung Cars a long time ago. It lags behind in the future car competition, but that doesn't mean it has conquered the existing market. Even when the global SUV craze broke out, they focused on sedans and missed the time to introduce new cars. And while they failed to upgrade, Chinese automakers including Zhou Motors grew rapidly. Chinese cars, which were once famous for their designs that looked like they were copied from other cars and poor quality, have developed into a car that can be ridden well, and a car with good price/performance ratio. Chinese tea has devoured silver tea's share metallurgically. On the other hand, German cars such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Audi, which have firmly established their premium image, were hardly affected. It was not able to overwhelm even with technological prowess, nor could it build a premium image, so it was in a position to be pushed by Chinese cars. Even now, the Chinese market was virtually in a state of withdrawal. Sales, which once peaked at over 8 million units, shrank to the 5.5 million level. That doesn't just mean sales are down 30%. Even if the number of units sold decreases, various fixed costs, development costs and labor costs remain the same. As costs rose, yields plummeted. Experts expressed concern that the silver car could collapse as it is. It was when he formed an alliance with Keris that set the stage for the reversal. In fact, it was as if Unsung had given up on developing its own technology and went under the umbrella of Carlos. Thanks to the supply of Keris autonomous driving technology and OTK battery, the silver car was revived, and the stock price, which had been on the bottom, also picked up. But it was a double-edged sword for management. Experts from Keris came over to jointly develop electric vehicles, and they started intervening in management under the pretext of improving management efficiency. The board of directors and executives objected to this. But it is also true that no one has been held responsible for management failures so far. In addition, Unsung Motors' main business is focused on alliances with Keris, and large-scale investments, including the Gunsen electric vehicle industrial complex, were also led by Keris and OTK Company. In fact, there were very few things that Unsung Cha could independently decide. Executives who had been occupying positions without ability were cut off without a sound. There are 4 CEOs of Unsung Cha. He formed an alliance with Keris and gave up one of the positions to a person from Keris's side. He commissioned a foreign accounting firm to examine the accounting closely. In the process, several problems were revealed and CEO Park Jong-ho was cut off. He was Han Chanyung's right arm. A member of the group went up there, but he wasn't from Chanyung Han's side. No, he should rather see him as having pro-corrosion tendencies. Chanyung Han felt a sense of crisis. But opposition was not easy given that institutions and individual shareholders were overwhelmingly supporting Keris. I met Chairman Chanyung Han. It's been a long time since we've seen each other like this, even though we met every now and then. He looked very tired. He is taller than me and has a strong build. But he said that when he changed his seat he looked different and he looked a little small depending on today. What did you say you wanted to see? I said quietly, I would like you to step down as CEO Unsung Cha. As he might have guessed, he didn't look very surprised. But his fingers holding his coffee cup trembled slightly. The BW must not have expired yet. When Yunsung's stock price plummeted, OTK company bought close to 10% on the market. And it took over 9% of the treasury stock owned by Yunsung Motors. Since then, purchases have been added and OTK company's stake has slightly exceeded 20%. However, Yunsung Motors issued a BW to secure investment funds in a partnership with Keris, which was acquired by OTK company. The issuance of new shares due to BW is 20% of the total shares. BW bond with warrant literally means a bond and a call option. If the creditor wants to recover the money lent, he can pay it back, but if it is converted into stock, the company has to issue new shares instead of money to pay it back. The issuance of new shares meant that the value of existing shares was diluted. If we convert all BW to stock right away, our stake will also be reduced to 16%. Of course, the more new shares you receive, the higher your actual stake. BW maturities are expected to return sequentially over 10 years in order to stabilize management rights and protect shareholder value. As you can see, we have secured enough friendship stakes. Foreign shareholders will follow our side. Incorporating it as an affiliate of Keris beyond a simple alliance is a good thing for the share price. There is no reason for shareholders to object. Foreign ownership of Yunsung Motors is over 30%, and this money is on our side. Even if the National Pension Service takes Han Chanyang's side, I am confident enough to win the shareholders' meeting. If we lose at least one time, it is enough if we don't invest any more in Yunsung cars except for the collaboration we're currently doing. He said with a sigh. The CEO and I had a pretty bad relationship. Read more at wuxiax.com. Right. Is it because of the past? My house was ruined and my father died because of Yunsung. If you forget, it was a common mischief of large corporations in the news. What is his responsibility here? Rather than that, let's say it's for management efficiency. He followed in his father's footsteps to the post of chairman, just like I'm Jin Yong. However, his management skills were not good. If management had been excellent in the first place, there would have been no need for Yunsung to form an alliance with Keris. The only thing he did well, though, was to open his hand to me. Had he not been affiliated with Keris, he would have been dead by now. Still, it would not have gone bankrupt as long as there was a domestic market. Foreign corporations must have passed one after another. He was a chaebol from birth. Like Chairman Im Jin-yong, his fate was set to inherit the Yunsung Motor Group. On the other hand, I have reached this position with my own abilities. Who would have imagined that the son of the president of a subcontractor that went bankrupt due to Yunsung's abuse would take over? Even the parent company, Keris, was originally a subsidiary of Yunsung Motors. Chon Young-han smiled bitterly. At this point I can only laugh. Were you planning on doing this from the beginning? I didn't bother to deny it. I helped Yoon Seonka because I saw foreknowledge. And Yeji told me that I would have a silver star. So, it can be said that this was decided from the moment we held hands. Keros plans to continue investing by incorporating Yunsung Motors as an affiliate. The stock price will be higher than it is now. Even if he resigns after giving up the management rights of Yunsung Motors, the fact that he is a major shareholder does not change. The harder the person who has been deprived of management, the richer the person who has been deprived of it. It seems ironic, but this is also the physiology of the stock market. As you can see from the group name, the center of the Yunsung T group is Yunsung T. If this falls apart, what will happen to Yunsung Motor Group in the future? Maybe it could become like Yunsung Group, where all its major affiliates are gone and only a shell remains, or it can develop other major businesses. Will the name Yunsung Cha remain the same? I nodded. Of course. It's just being incorporated into the Keris subsidiary. Yunsung Motor is still a Korean company. The automobile is labor-intensive and technology-intensive, and is an important industry that ranks first in the world's trade volume. Therefore, all countries foster the automobile industry as a key industry. Unsung Motors has risen to become a global automaker thanks to the government's support, monopoly on the domestic market and endless technological development. It is undeniable that the late chairman Han Min-koo was a great manager. However, in his later years, due to several mistakes, Yunsung Cha was put into a crisis. While the Unsung car was stuck on a hydrogen car and confusion was engulfed by the PAS airbag recall, self-driving cars were commercialized, and logistics trucks running in platoons ran on the road. Then unmanned taxis appeared and unmanned buses are also being tested in the middle of New York. Ironically, advances in technology have resulted in declining sales. There is no need to own it as it can be conveniently used whenever needed. In the meantime, growth in emerging countries such as China and India has supported demand, but now it has reached its limit. Already, global car sales have begun to grow negatively, and everyone is fighting for survival. I saw Chan Young-han. He too will know the limits of his managerial ability. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm superior to him in management skills. So I only invest, but I do not interfere with management. Being still if you don't know is also a skill. What will Han Chan-young choose? If he doesn't give up on his own and holds on to the end, he will open the gun and go to a vote battle. Maybe they will go out to buy stocks to secure mutually friendly shares. Either way, I can't get tired of it. After a while, Chan Young-han said calmly, "Please take good care of Unsung T." Finally, he got up from his seat. Breaking news. Chairman Chan Young-han, So Unsung Ta resigns. Only for personal reasons. Yoon Seong-ka, do you fall for Karis? Karo's side will further strengthen support for Unsung Kar. Who is the new CEO of Yunsung Cha? The news of Chairman Chan Young-han's retirement soon spread through breaking news. This does not mean that only one Chan Young-han will step down. Sooner or later, all those classified as his vassals will be withdrawn. Although OTK Company has invested in numerous companies so far, it has never coveted management rights. But this is the first time the management has changed. Although some were concerned about mergers and acquisitions, both Karis and OTK Company strongly denied the possibility. No matter how much Unsung Motor is criticized for its quality and image, it is a national company that monopolizes 70% of the domestic automobile market. As there are many related industries and subcontractors, the market accepted this as a big shock. People's reactions were mixed. Hey, Kang Hyung hit the back of the head properly. I've known since the time Karis and Yunsung Cha formed a partnership. In the first place, I reached out for management rights. How is this different from hedge funds that take away management rights? No matter how much you suck, Kang Jin, who was a speculator in the first place. Typical corporate hunter. I'm disappointed, Hyung TT. I've seen it well so far. The Chan Young-han family has grown the Korean automobile industry like this. How can they do this? What's wrong with changing managers? So, should Unsung Kar be run by Chan Young-han for 1,000 years? After Han Chan-young's death, will he pass it on to his son? If you see a stock price rise close to 5% after a manager change, it means that shareholders like it. Why are you guys so upset that you don't have a share of stock? After all, it is difficult to survive with our own technology. GM and Ford also teamed up with Karis, so it could have been better for Unsung. The financial world was also engulfed in chaos. Until now, in Korea, chaebol management was taken for granted. Therefore, even legitimate actions in the stock market, such as stock purchases or disputes over management rights, were treated as sins. However, this incident reminded me of the natural fact that losing control in a stake battle could result in loss of management. If Jin Ho Kong sets out to devour domestic companies, how many companies can survive? The business community quickly checked their holdings and friendly shares, and considered buying stocks with private equity to increase the share of the major shareholders. However, it was the Yunsung Tea Union that shocked me the most. As always, the union, which was preparing for a strike as an annual event, was stunned. A while. What will happen if Chan Young-han resigns? From now on, do I have to deal with Kang Jin-woo instead of Han Chan-young? Then what about this strike? I need to raise my wages as much as I couldn't raise them last time. I already made all the banners with Han Chanyung's name on it. Should I change to Kang Jin-hu? For Eun-sung, domestic sales are absolute, as it is impossible to import cars produced in overseas factories without the union's consent. Sales are all stopped when domestic production stops. For this reason, they went on strike every year to demand a wage increase and welfare benefits, and it worked. Thanks to this, the wages of workers in the production of silver cars were the highest in the manufacturing industry, excluding IT and special products, and even higher than those of the US and Germany. The union had already faced Jinhu Kong during the last strike. The result, as we all know, was the ruthless defeat of the union. The strike had to be withdrawn without any income, receiving only huge public criticism. This was the first time in the history of the Yonsong Tea Union strike. Korea is the most important market for Eun-sung, but it is only one of many markets for Karis. As the electric vehicle industrial complex decided to enter Simanjeom following Gunsan, the influence of the Eun-sung Motors Union gradually weakened. But in this situation, you might have to deal with Kang Jin-hu every time in the future? Even if they are the same predator, there are people who can eat horses and others who can't. If Chan Young-han is a fox, Jin-hu Kong is a tiger. Yang Soo-hyung, chairman of the union, shouted and said, "You can't do this. You must not watch this situation where management is replaced by speculative capital. The union must step forward and protect the Silver Star." I don't know when the union started worrying about the position of president, but all the union members strongly agreed. Right. Bring back Chan Young-han. Our president, let's protect it. The Yeonsangcha Union has been shouting at Chan Young-han to take responsibility for her management failure and step down. This time, however, he protested, crying out for Chan Young-han's return. The Yeonsang Tea Union decided to go on strike if Han Chan-young did not return to business. In a way, Eun-sung's management and the labor union have been in an antagonistic symbiotic relationship. However, when one side changed, this symbiotic relationship was broken. I said on the phone with Daryl, "If you want to go on strike, do it. People have to do what they want to do." As the global division of labor is accelerating, the link between development, production, and sales is gradually weakening. Automobile factories around the world are competing for productivity to secure production volume. In the meantime, Korean-based factories have been out of this competition, but not anymore. A change in management cannot invalidate an existing labor management agreement. Therefore, it is impossible to cut the basic wage or reduce the number of employees. However, it is possible to reduce the allowance by reducing the quantity and eliminating overtime. Even if sales in Korea are suspended for a while, we plan to distribute the volume thoroughly according to productivity. It may be considered unfair from the union's point of view, but from the manager's point of view, there is no reason to supply supplies to factories where productivity is falling and frequent strikes are causing production disruptions. Daryl agreed with me. Yeonsang-cha has been a problem with the management and the union as well. In order for the Korean automobile industry to survive, we need to take this opportunity to solve the problem. The world changes faster than people think. Uncertainty scares people. Therefore, people have always wanted to know the future. In the past, people used to do divination, but these days people do what is called analysis, predicting the future by substituting various variables. In the financial market where huge capital flows, future economic flow is very important. So each institution and experts pour out all kinds of prospects in their own way. In the past, information was monopolized by powerful people, but now the world is getting better and it is possible to access information with just a few clicks. From articles analyzing global economic trends to articles by industry and sector, data abounds. The question is whether it is possible to select high-quality materials from the two. Not long ago, the economic outlook of New York University professor Nouriel Roubini, famous for Dr. Doom, was published in the media. Taekyu looked at it and was surprised. What? Will the global stock market collapse within the next year? Look closely. It's not collapse, it's may collapse. What's the difference? It's the difference between whether you can change your words later or not. Basically, the economic outlook is one of two things: going up or down. Therefore, almost half of the projections made are likely to be correct. However, extreme projections such as a surge or collapse are very difficult to match. If 3 dice are tossed and the sum of the numbers is predicted, the median values of 9, 10, 11, and 12 are the most likely. On the other hand, the probability of a 3 or 18 with only one combination of numbers 1, 1, 1 and 6, 6, 6 is 1 in 216. If you get it right, you can become a huge celebrity. Professor Nouriel Roubini was famous for accurately predicting the real estate crash before the financial crisis. The same goes for Nassim Taleb, author of Black Swan. Professor Roubini has been screaming bubbles and crashes ever since, but his recent batting average hasn't been very good. The stock market and real estate keep rising despite his calls. Isn't this economic outlook you should be doing? In fact, we receive countless requests for interviews. Wouldn't a year's worth of schedule be full with just that interview? So they all declined. Even Time and Forbes. The biggest reason is that I have nothing to say. Analyzing the economy is their main job as economists, but the only thing I know how to do is sometimes to look into the future. How would you be offended if you said something plausible and later turned out to be wrong? Still, the world is full of people who swear at me, so there is no need to add more. While I was talking with Take You, Ellie came over to have lunch with me. Instead of going out because it was a hot day, we headed to the cafeteria. Ellie asked me, "Do you know a person named Jukwang Kim? Are you Jukwang Kim? They say I'm a singer." "Oh, of course I do. I'm listening to a song these days and the lyrics are so pretty." "What song are you listening to?" "Magic Castle. It's a song from a generation ago, but it's so famous and has been remade a lot, so it's a song most people know when they hear it." Taeyong said quickly, Magic Castle is a real masterpiece. Do you know that it is music that I made while I was playing a game?" "Really?" "Yes. They said they made it after clearing the game, Prince of Arabia." Ellie was amazed. There was a story like that. I didn't know either. I thought the lyrics were fairy tale, but it must have been inspired by a game. We met a few days ago for work. I also got a signed CD. They said they would hold a concert at the end of the year, so let's go see it together. Take You asked as if he didn't understand. For work. What's going on with Golden Gate? I am now the head of the real estate management division and I often trade our ETFs. At Ellie's words, Take You's expression was even more incomprehensible. Are you the head of real estate management? Who? I said to Take You. I did not know. Kim Jukwang's main job is a fund manager. Taeyong was astonished. What? Really? He even launched a passive fund called the Magic Castle Fund, which he managed. The returns were pretty good. Aren't you kidding? Really? If you search the internet anyway, you will find everything. It's a fact that everyone in the financial world knows, but most people don't know. To the general public, he is much more famous as a singer than a fund manager. This is a fact that I learned after entering the business administration department. I asked team leader Jong Ki-hong, who was having a meal with the staff at the next table. Chief Kim Jukwang, who works at real estate management, didn't you come to our school before? Team leader Jong Ki-hong said quickly. Of course. Every year at job fairs he came and sang a few songs. It was then that Take You started to believe. Besides Magic Castle, there are many other famous songs like Farewell Letter, Wolf, and Soul Girl. But isn't your main job a singer? Singing is a hobby or a side job. You said you made such great songs as a side job? Yeah. There are people in the world who have both talents that seem unrelated. Most singers have a hard time producing a single hit song even if they try their best, but for some song they made as a hobby is sung across generations. When I see this, I realize once again that the world is not fair. But this is not the case. There are lawyers with model-like beauty. Only you, your main job is a vice president, but your side job is an otaku. Take-you shouted in anger. What are you talking about? I'm kidding. My main job is an otakugo, my side job is a subrepresentative. Or was it? Keris has officially released ADT-1. Although platooning has been commercialized by attaching a module to an existing truck, the unmanned electric truck is a technology that goes a few steps further. People who saw the gigantic truck moving quietly and smoothly with no engine noise rose from their seats and applauded. Electric vehicles and autonomous driving technologies shine more in commercial vehicles than in passenger cars. Among them, the unmanned electric truck can be said to be the core of future land transportation. Therefore, all truck companies announced their development plans, and Scania and Mercedes-Benz trucks made prototypes and demonstrated test runs. However, Keris was the fastest in commercialization. Daryl said with his arms wide open. ADT-1 will be the first to go into Silicon Valley and use it to rebuild California. ADT-1 release, the future that Keris envisions. Strategy. Keris's future strategy is condensed into 3 categories. The first is the continuous development of unmanned electric vehicles. The second is an open platform, and the third is the reinforcement of passenger services. The most notable of these is the open platform strategy. This strategy is advantageous in several ways. First, it can avoid competition with existing automakers and grow together. Already, Keris has attracted silver cars, GM, Ford, and BMW to the so-called Keros camp. Second, even if you buy a competitor's car, the car is powered by Keris software. This is the same as buying another company's computer and having Windows installed on it, and a Korean company's smartphone running Google's Andromeda. Third, it is the preoccupation of the car infotainment market. Keris has already established Let's, a car infotainment company, jointly with Faceit. Let's analyze users' tendencies and provide various contents such as education, video entertainment, and travel through the vehicle's display. As autonomous driving technology and car sharing become more active, car sales will inevitably decrease. But whether renting or buying doesn't make much of a difference in the total time people use a car. Passengers will use Let's content during that time. This shows that even if car sales decline in the future, Keris profits can continue to increase. Analysts nodded their heads in estimating Keris's enterprise value. This is because the stock price of a listed company tells everything, but an unlisted company has no choice but to estimate by substituting various indicators. In simple manufacturing, assets and profits are important factors in determining value. However, the high-tech manufacturing and service industries are more important than their immediate assets and profits, but their share and growth potential. As long as you can increase your share of the growing market, you can earn money later. It was impossible to apply the same value to Keris as other automakers. Considering the future growth potential of the future car market, it was not strange to apply the same value as Google or AMZ. JP Morgan estimates Keris worth more than $900 billion, and Morgan Stanley said that if Keris goes public, it could be valued at least $1 trillion. If this is true, it could even surpass AMZ, which is currently the #1 company by market cap in the United States. The governance structure of Keris is simple. OTK Company, the largest shareholder, owns 71.5%. Seosung Electronics, the second largest shareholder, holds 24.5%, and the management including Daryl owns 4%. As the CEO of OTK Company is Jin-Hu Kong, it means that Jin-Hu Kong is controlling the giant company called Keris. This is unprecedented in American economic history. People couldn't hide their surprise again. How much should I hold on to assets after the earthquake? It doesn't matter how much more you make in the future. If it is the current trend, it will increase several times. A young Korean is the richest man in the world. Fortunately, Americans did not have much objection to this. America is a land of opportunity where anyone can succeed if they have the ability. Jinho Kong is the hero who saved America from crisis. Currently, the U.S. economy is booming enough to be called a melting pot. Not to mention automobile manufacturing and IT and other service industries, the California Restoration Project brought the construction industry to a boil. Unemployment fell to 3%, virtually full employment, and businesses were struggling to find a job. In other words, there are a lot of jobs but there are no people. So now was the perfect time to launch ADT1. Opposition to unmannedness is strong in any industry. Who would love to lose their job? But if you are in a situation where you can find another job, there is less resistance. Justification is enough. Materials are being transported to Silicon Valley from all over the United States, and they are anxious to find a truck driver at each construction site. It will be even more difficult to object if there is a justification for rapid reconstruction. The problem is still production. The monthly production of ADT1 is only 600 units. Considering that last year's sales of logistics trucks in the US were about 300,000, this is a very small amount. We are building an additional production line, and we plan to raise it to 1,000 units right away through production stabilization. There is no end to what to do. You looked at the article and said, I heard that Carlos might be the #1 in the US market cap. You're just talking. Mega IT companies are concentrating on investment while keeping their operating profit margins as low as possible. As Keras is also implementing this strategy, in fact, considering the net profit, it is receiving an unreasonably high valuation. No one knows the value of a stock. A stock is a stock that goes to the upper limit and goes directly to the lower limit even in a single article. $1 trillion. At one time, the market cap of $1 trillion was unheard of. However, a few years ago, companies that exceeded $1 trillion were born simultaneously. There are a total of 4 companies currently worth $1 trillion on the US stock market. BMZ NPL Gubble. As you can tell from the name alone, it is all in the IT industry. Only these 4 companies are playing at $1 trillion and the next ones are at best at $500 billion or $600 billion. One of those companies is Berkshire Cashier, run by Warren Buffett. Companies with a market cap of $1 trillion already have their own moats that no one can overcome. And the same goes for Carlos. Currently, there is no company that can be called a competitor to Keras in the future car market. Once a competitor, Nicola is on a workout because she can't pay off her maturing bonds. As he has already solidified his position in the market, Keras' monopoly system will continue for a while. So I guess that's why it's valued so highly. However, no matter how expensive it is called, it does not mean that it is immediately in your hand as cash. Nowhere to sell. But don't you feel better when the stock price rises? That's right. In fact, after the $1 trillion announcement came out, Keras executives looked very excited. That's why $1 trillion has a lot of symbolic meaning. How about a game to commemorate the $1 trillion mark? You are at work. And don't you think it could drop to $500 billion? After work, I headed to the wine bar of the Grand Dayton Hotel. It was still early, so the bar was quiet. I sat inside and waited. After a while, a man arrived. She is a woman in her 30s with neatly tied hair and silver-rimmed glasses. Her outfit is a high-waisted skirt with a white blouse that fits her body perfectly. Hyunju Nuna looked at me and said, Sorry. It's a little late. Did you wait long? No. I haven't been here in a while. Hyunju's sister ordered wine. We clapped the glasses lightly. Has Henry arrived well? Huh. It's been a while since I've been there, so I guess I'm too busy meeting people. Henry left for New York yesterday. Did you call me out for a drink because you were bored? Hyunju Nuna laughed out loud. Well, there is something like that. When I get home from work, there is no one to greet me all the time, so it's not like I'm right there. Still, there's a gun. I'm really happy. How boring it is to be alone in that spacious house. For reference, Junai has 2 nanny to take care of her 24 hours a day. Still not sure if she was relieved, Hyunju Nuna checked her house CCTV with her smartphone from time to time. Why did you two want to see each other? I just want to have a drink together. Hate. I don't like it. We see each other every day, but it's been a long time since we've seen each other alone. And to give you this too. Hyunju Nuna handed me the envelope. It is none other than a wedding invitation. Congratulations. Now you are really getting married. She should have had a wedding earlier, but she kept putting it off because she was busy with pregnancy, childbirth, and other things. However, preparations have been ongoing for several months, and as a result of collecting opinions and schedules from all walks of life, the date has been set for the next month. Venue: Jeju Island Salon Hotel. The reason Henry went to New York was to meet and greet the distinguished guests in person. I don't mind if I don't, but she said that he had to unconditionally raise the ceremony. Of course. My sister should wear a dress too. The wedding of the grandson of the world's largest IB Golden Gate CEO and the president of the Korean branch. In the financial world, it is truly the wedding of the century. Isn't it really okay to say that my sister is getting married? Yes. Wasn't the marriage early? You used to like me. Fuck. In an instant I almost spit out the drink I was drinking. The reason Nuna knows about this is, of course, that Taekyu talked about it earlier. Oh Taekyu, oh really? Hyunju Nuna laughed as if it was funny. Actually, I knew it before Taekyu said it. Okay? From when? I figured it out right away. I was surprised. Really? You come to my house so recklessly, isn't it strange that you don't know anymore? And don't you bring up economic terms that you wouldn't even learn in middle school and ask what it means for nothing, or say that you'll be entering Korea University later. Ah. I've teased that much. Actually, Taekyurang was in the same class, but she wasn't that close. But by chance I stopped by Taekyu's house and saw Hyunju's older sister. Compared to the young girls at school, Hyunju Nuna felt like a real grown woman. She was a fresh shock to me as she was a pure middle school student at the time. From then on, I often went to Taekyu's house after school to see Hyunju's older sister. As a result, she became one of the best friends. Now that I think about it, maybe this was my first love. It's like going to Korea University thanks to my sister. I know. I was surprised too. A middle school kid said that he also wanted to go to a Korean university, and she really knows how to enter. When I was in elementary school and middle school, I wasn't really that good at studying. But when she heard that her sister was a Korean university, she thought that she wanted to go to that university, and from then on she began to study hard. If you think about it, she might not have even gotten to this point if she hadn't met her sister. At my words, Hyunju Nuna smiled. Thank you for thinking that way, she said as if her sister sighed. I was young at the time. She is now an auntie. What do you mean? She is still so pretty. She has become a father. It's true. So Henry must have been in love with his sister. We chatted and drank continuously. It's been a while since the two of us talked, so we have a lot to talk about. Hyunju Nuna seemed to have something she wanted to say. Whether you live together or have children, marriage is another matter. Right. Americans seem to meet easily and break up easily, but even in the Western world, marriage is the most important social contract and the union between family and family. Hyunju Nuna looked at me and said, to ask Ellie to take her bouquet. The bouquet is usually given to one of her bride's friends, unmarried and married. So it's only natural for Ellie to receive her bouquet. What's next? I noticed what my sister wanted to say. All the while she couldn't count the men who ran for Eli. Among them, there were not one or two handsome and wealthy men. Alida exudes a model-like pose even in a suit. He is also a lawyer in the financial world by profession, so it is natural for men to line up. She had been suffering from it since she was little, so she didn't really care about Ellie's men. But I didn't really know that she would be dating her brother's friend. I'm not in a position to meddle in other people's relationships, and I think Ellie would be upset if she found out, but I want to know what you think after Jean Hu. I am. It is inconceivable to even come to meet a woman other than Ellie. Hyunju Nuna tilted her wine glass. It's not about what to do right now. But from now on I think it would be good to seriously think about it. You might think it's too early to get married, but Ellie might not. After listening to Hyunju Nuna's words, the thought did not leave my head. She has been dating Ellie for quite some time, and she now lives with her and sees her face to face every day. In a way it's like being married, and while others think so, the actual marriage is another matter. It's marriage. In fact, it wasn't that he hadn't thought about marriage for a while. Her mother also urged her to hurry up if she was going to get married anyway. Ellie is 3 years older than me. She may have thought she was seriously thinking about getting married in the first place. Hearing my words, Taekyu nodded his head for nothing. My friend is old enough to think about getting married. How can a middle school student who used to sting his nose become so big now? I am happy with everything. Even then I didn't bleed my nose. And why are you happy? I fell in love with my older sister and went to my house together after school. It felt like yesterday. Stop talking about that. How long do you keep selling people's first love stories? Can't you see I'm serious now? You can just get married. What are you thinking about? What will you do if I get married? What should I do? Are you going to live alone? Weren't we still living together after we got married? First of all, he is a stumbling block in my marriage. However, there is a really big problem that cannot be compared with this. What is that? It's the ability I have. Foresight. If I get married, shouldn't I tell Ellie? Dean was surprised. What? He's the only one who knows that I have foresight. Believe it or not, the fewer people you know about this, the better. What about the hero hiding his powers? How long are you going to hide? Do I have to tell you? How would you feel if I hid this ability from you? Taekyu thought for a moment and then he said, are you going to be disappointed? I feel like I have been betrayed. Is that so? I made numerous investments and saved America from crisis. And even now he is regarded as an outstanding investor and an American hero. But as you know, it is all thanks to his foresight. If you think about it, it's an incredible ability. I don't have the confidence to explain what kind of ability this is, and I have nothing to say about hiding it. How will Ellie react when she finds out the truth? Besides, you lied a lot. So that's the problem. While others were studying hard to get a perfect score, I got a perfect score after seeing the correct answer with Yeji. Fortunately, this is an investment. If it is a test, there will be moral problems, but an investment is okay. Whether you've mobilized all your financial engineering and analysis or thrown a dart to shoot, if you get it right, you make money, and if you get it wrong, you lose money. It's not like I'm really competing with anyone else. The problem is that I lied as if I did well because I studied hard rather than that I did well on the test with intelligence. Startup investment, Brexit, big one, Nishida's securities order mistake, TWR, Semangium development, etc. I have invested in what I saw as foresight and wrapped it up for other reasons and explained it plausibly. It's not just hiding the fact that he has the ability, he's actively deceiving him. Can't we just keep talking? Of course, I thought so too at first. However, it's always cheating after all. If you're not going to hide it until you die, wouldn't it be right to tell it at least before you get married? Why? Because getting married means trusting the other person. Marriage is a social contract, accompanied by responsibilities and rights. So far I have signed numerous contracts. And hundreds of billions and trillions of won moved on that single contract. Compared to these contracts, marriage is more important, not less. Taekyu blinked his eyes as if he didn't understand. Is that enough? Let's think. To put it bluntly, what would happen if I died in an accident or disease? From the moment they get married, even people they didn't know anything about until yesterday become friends who share each other's property and future. My mother is the heir to my wealth, which previously amounted to hundreds of trillions of won. However, from the moment they get married, Eli will become the first heir. Do you really need to get married in the first place if you don't even have faith to tell the truth? And if she finds out that her partner doesn't trust her, will she ever be able to convince Ellie? You heard my story and nodded. This is more complicated than I thought. Because it is. How the hell am I supposed to say it? You seemed comforting and patted my shoulder and said, "Okay. You have a lot of money. Turn it off." Of course, it wasn't comforting at all. He sighed to himself and continued to ponder. You said. But isn't there one important thing missing from this story? What? You looked at me and asked, "Are you going to marry Ellie?" Ah. You haven't asked that yet. Upon arriving at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport, Henry walked out after completing his immigration procedures. A Rolls-Royce Phantom was waiting in front of the airport. The staff opened the door and Henry got into the car. A Rolls-Royce Phantom was waiting in front of the airport. The staff opened the door and Henry got into the car. The car headed to Golden Gate headquarters on Wall Street. When I arrived at the headquarters, I saw people in suits walking through the front door at a fast pace. Henry went up to the CEO's office. There sat an old gentleman with glasses and a suit. His name is James C. Goldman. He is Henry's grandfather and CEO of Golden Gate. Long time no see. It was hard to come. James looked at Henry with a curious expression. The wedding is coming up. How do you feel? Henry laughed. I think I am the happiest man in the world. James burst out laughing at his grandson's words. You can see how happy he is just by looking at his face. At first I was surprised to hear that they had a baby between them. However, Oh Hyunju was not lacking in making her the daughter-in-law of the Goldman family. She gave birth to her great-grandchildren who would pass on to her family, so she was truly blessed. James patted Henry on the shoulder. I sent him to Korea to learn a job, but he came back after finding the most important thing. As Oh Hyunju is the general manager of Golden Gate and the third largest shareholder of the OTK company, her name is also well known on Wall Street. Until now, his husband was only known as an American who worked for the OTK company, but this time as he was preparing for the wedding, it was revealed for the first time that he was a member of the Goldman family. The public could not hide their surprise that Henry was the grandson of Golden Gate CEO. Henry and James traveled all over New York City, meeting and saying hello to financiers and politicians and inviting them to their weddings. Leading commercial and investment banking executives, large capital investors and politicians, including the governor and mayor of New York, congratulated the wedding and announced that they would make time to attend the wedding. As he and his grandson were having dinner together, James alluded to, "In the meantime, I think you have had enough rest. When do you plan to start taking succession classes? Seeing that Chase guy retired and playing around, I can't wait any longer." James has grown Golden Gate into the world's largest investment bank. But he felt he wasn't as capable as he used to be. He said that not keeping pace with the changing times meant falling behind. So he was slowly weighing the timing of his retirement. The hardest thing for him to get into a position is to step down. Fortunately, he has a strong grandson to follow in his footsteps. All that remains to be done now is to hand over everything and rest? Taking succession classes meant returning to New York, where he was headquartered. When Henry hesitated to answer, James smiled kindly. "If it's your family, you don't have to worry. He's got someone to take over as president of Korea, and he's also set up a position as chief investment officer for the stock division for Jessica." If Hyunju had heard this in person, he would have been surprised. Even though Korea is the 11th largest economy in the world, it is not comparable to the United States. The US has a GDP more than 12 times higher than that of Korea, and as it is the center of global finance, the amount of moving capital is several times there. Therefore, it was a shocking promotion to become the stock manager of the headquarters from the head of the Korean branch. After thinking for a moment, Henry carefully opened his mouth. "My grandfather always said that someone with talent should sit as CEO of Golden Gate. Are you still thinking about it?" James nodded his head. "Of course. I chose you as my heir, not because he was my grandson, but because I thought I had the power to do so." At those words, Henry put on a face as if he had made up his mind. "Then I will not be the CEO of Golden Gate." What? For a moment, James wondered if he had heard it wrong. Read more at wuxiax.com. What did you say now? He was, of course, the grandson he considered to be the lumber that would succeed him. He wasn't forced. Henry chose it himself, and he has been walking towards that goal ever since. Golden Gate is a huge investment bank that plays an important role in global finance as well as in the United States. Even a single word or report can shake up the global economy. But I'm going to decline the position. Why? Please tell me why in a convincing way. Because there is someone who suits the position better than me. For the future of Golden Gate, I think it is right for him to sit down. If that's the case, James knows one too. Are you talking about Kang Jin-Hu? No. This is Oh Hyun-ju. James frowned at the unexpected answer. I hope I didn't cloud my judgment because I fell in love. Henry shook his head resolutely. It's true that I'm in love, but I'm not foolish enough to judge a project because of it. Isn't that what Jessica asked for? She doesn't even know I'm thinking like this. It's just something I've been watching and coming to for a long time. Henry spoke in a more confident voice. My grandfather taught me. A good investment is to use people well and to get people who are better than you to work in the right places. That's why I want to make Hyunju Jeon the CEO of Golden Gate. She doesn't fit the position better than her. He is the CEO and has been receiving frequent reports about Oh Hyunju. She joined the Golden Gate headquarters as a trader and in recognition of her skills, moved to Asia, where she worked in the M&A sector, and on strong recommendation from Chase Southwell, she became the branch manager of the Korean branch. If she becomes CEO, she will be the first Golden Gate employee to rise to the top of the list. The basic policy of American companies is that they do not discriminate against race, gender or nationality as long as they have the ability. But how many companies can put it into practice? In particular, the financial world is a conservative group. If an Asian woman becomes the CEO in a place like this, what will people think? I don't know, but there will be many people who will evaluate it positively. Not to mention the workability. Although the Korean branch is new, it is generating the highest rate of return between the main city and the branch. Above all, Oh Hyunju is the third largest shareholder of OTK Company and the older sister of the second largest shareholder. Kang Jin-Hu also believes in her and follows her. As it is now, given the impact the OTK Company will have on the global economy in the future, becoming CEO may be her best bet for Golden Gate. In addition, Oh Hyunju is now a member of the Goldman family. There was no reason not to make her his successor. James felt the shock as if he had been hit in the head with a hammer. Why didn't I think of that? It may be that he was engulfed in the thought that he had already appointed a successor and that he was Asian and that he was a woman, so he could not see it properly. In a way, the grandson made the right decision. If you take Jessica as your successor, what do you plan to do in the future? Henry said proudly. I want to help Hyunju in every way to lead Golden Gate well. He includes taking care of the children. Golden Gate Korea branch manager Oh Hyunju's husband turned out to be the grandson of Golden Gate Seo. Meeting of the world's largest IB successor and the world's largest shareholder of the three largest companies. Public attention is focused on the wedding of the century. Next month I will hold a wedding ceremony at the Salon Hotel in Jeju Island. The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal poured articles. The Korean media also quickly reported this as a scoop. The repercussions were much bigger than expected and the internet went into chaos. Hey, I thought he was an American, but he said he was the heir to Golden Gate? Did you see the picture? The man is absolutely gorgeous. To be a movie star. I thought it was a male Cinderella, but he's a prince over there too, haha. Well then, I got married just for money. Ha. Oh Hyunju is the third largest shareholder of OTK Company. I already have tens of trillions of dollars in personal property alone, so would you date a man for money? How much is the replacement for the two of you? Isn't he really a big hit? Tens of trillions of wealth for mom, tens of trillions for father's fortune, hundreds of trillions for uncle's fortune, hundreds of trillions for uncle's friend. V. Is this enough to give you 100 million won each? I'm envious. When I am reborn, I want to be born as a child of that family. There is no way. I just need to have a daughter soon and marry the girl in that family. How crazy. This is the least genius. OTK company employees were surprised. No wonder the employee he worked with found out that he was the grandson of the American financial tycoon Goldman. It is truly the greatest reversal of the century. The man I slapped turns out to be as cliched as being our president's grandson. It still works, so why not keep using it? Sure. But in reality, the man who was slapped in the face sues him for assault instead of saying things like, "You are the first time I've ever met a woman like this." The reality is always difficult. Ellie did not hide her joy. Jessica is getting married. Can you believe it? Your marriage was already over. I already have children. At my words, Ellie shook her head. But a wedding is another thing. Maybe once in a lifetime. I do. Of course, there are people who do it multiple times in the world. Even though she would have been asked by her sister-in-law by now, Ellie did not specifically mention her bouquet. Ellie asked as I stared. Why are you looking at me like that? It's just because it's pretty. Ellie grinned. Foot, what is it all of a sudden? After her wedding, we should have a serious conversation. Salon Hotel is considered one of the best hotel chains in Korea. In the meantime, various events have been held and many distinguished guests have visited. However, this wedding is beyond the imagination of the bride and groom as well as the guests. It was truly the biggest event since its inception. Even in the midst of frantic busyness, Lim Soo-mi took care of her related matters. When the wedding date was roughly set, the rooms were insufficient even though they did not take reservations from the general public before or after that. I tried to solve the accommodation problem in connection with other hotels, but this was not easy. As Jeju Island is a famous tourist destination, there are many hotels. The problem was that there were only a few five-star hotels that could accommodate distinguished guests. This was because most of the tourist products were concentrated on cheap Chinese tourists. In order to secure at least one more room, there was an opinion that general reservations should be cancelled by asking for a penalty, but President Lim Soo-mi just cut it off. The reason customers pay a high price to use Salon Hotel is because they expect decent service. Cancellation is not possible except for unavoidable reasons such as natural disasters. As long as they have a reservation, they are our customers and we have to put them first. As an alternative, she decided to rent an entire four-star hotel nearby, then proceed with cleaning the room and replacing the bedding and amenities with Salon Hotel products. The Salon Hotel shared the list of attendees with the Jeju Provincial Office and requested security for the route and surrounding accommodations. The Jeju Provincial Office was stunned. The list of attendees was astounding to the point of being speechless. New York Governor, New York Mayor, Wall Street investment banking executive, famous investor, American financial conglomerate, Hollywood star. There are even oil riches in the Middle East. Jeju Governor Kim Hae-young was astonished. Has there ever been such a large number of major figures gathered at once since the establishment of Jeju Island? This is usually not a big deal. However, if anything happens to them, Jeju Island will suffer a huge blow to its image. No, we do it in Hawaii or Guam. Why the hell are we doing this in Jeju Island? But when you think about it, it was a huge opportunity. They are people who can move hundreds of billions of won with a single word. No, you can buy the whole island of Jeju if you put your mind to it. Wouldn't it be possible to attract investment in Jeju Island if done well? If that's the case, won't the next local election pass with a high pass? Governor Kim Hae-young and provincial legislators worked together to prepare to welcome the distinguished guests. There was an emergency at the airport right away. A few days before the wedding, there were more than 100 private cars that requested permission to land. Jeju International Airport was already saturated, so a second airport was under construction. It was decided to adjust the flight schedule as much as possible, to operate the runway 24 hours a day, and to secure the hangar as much as possible. However, there was not enough time and space to accommodate the many private planes. Accordingly, in connection with nearby airports including Gimhe Airport, they landed there and then decided to provide temporary flights. Japan also stepped out here. If they come to Fukuoka Airport, which is close to Jeju Island, they will provide temporary flights. The intention was to put even a spoon on it by passing it through Japan. There is still a lot of time left until the wedding, but people from the financial world, such as investment banks and private equity funds, entered Korea one after another. Korea's financial industry is traditionally weak. Therefore, global IBs were passive in entering the domestic market, such as linking with domestic securities companies or making investments abroad. However, the Korean economy is growing rapidly and has emerged as an important market for investment banks. Golden Gate, which established a branch, saw its great success, and global IBs thought of opening a branch in the international financial complex to be built in Simanjeom this time. Commercial banks as well as investment banks have also considered entering Korea. There are concerns about foreign banks coming in, but Senior Sanjiop shook his head. Well, the Korean financial industry was completely sold out to foreign capital during the IMF. Team leader Jong Ki-hong nodded his head. It was just ripped off. Taeyong narrowed his eyes. But aren't there many banks in Korea? There are many banks. By the way, how much do you think the foreign ownership of the 5 major banks will be? Well, about half. The average is 75%. In the case of CS Bank and Citibank Korea, it is 100%. At this point, only the name is Korean, and in reality, it is no different than a foreign company. Here is not the end. Foreign capital also holds a majority in regional banks named after regions, and large amounts of Japanese funds flow into savings banks and loan businesses. Finance has a huge impact on the national economy. Therefore, in the case of emerging countries, various regulations restrict the acquisition of foreign capital. Korea did the same, but after the Asian financial crisis, it was abolished by the IMF bailout. And as you can see, it has become a playground for foreign capital. Sanjiop Sr. said. There is nothing wrong with coming to Korea whether it is an investment bank or a commercial bank. It will be easier for companies to raise capital in the future. That's right. Unlike commercial banks, which mainly deal with deposit and loan, investment banks, as the name suggests, focus on professional investment, which is a great help in revitalizing finance. Of course, we should be careful about foreign capital being too harsh. I received a call from Professor Haman Kim. Hello, Professor. You must be very busy these days. He didn't even come to the lab to play. Anyway, I was going to visit soon. How are you? I'm always the same. Research, experiment, meet people. By the way, can't we just ask politicians to stop visiting the institute? When these guys get bored, they bring reporters in, take a look around and take pictures. Professor Homin Kim is the only scientific Nobel Prize winner in Korea. And the OTK Research Center is a place to research batteries, which are essential products for all electronic products. Maybe that's why politicians came in and out like poopy puppies as soon as policies on science or new industries came out. Politicians went on a show regardless of the opposition. It's still like this now, but it will be worth seeing later during election season. How about putting dogs and politicians prohibited on the front door? No. Then you might be insulted by the dogs. How do you treat your precious dog like a politician? Oh, it could be. More than that, I think I made something interesting. Would you like to come see it if you have time? Yes. What have you developed? Professor Haman Kim laughed out loud. It's not that great, so don't expect too much. I will go right now. I got into the car and ran with Taekyu. When he arrived at the OTK lab, Professor Haman Kim, who was with his fellow researchers, waved his hand. I'm here. What are you going to show me? Drink a cup of coffee first. Professor Haman Kim personally brewed the coffee mix. We drank it and listened quietly. After researching this and that, I came up with one. I'm curious to the point of getting nervous. What is it? Professor Haman Kim laughed playfully. As you can see, batteries have lagged behind the advancement of electronic devices. Because according to Moore's law, while semiconductor performance increased exponentially, battery capacity increased arithmetically. Right. The OTK battery was able to sweep the market just by doubling the capacity of the basic NCM battery. In the end, the problem is the limitation of the material. That's why we are working hard to develop new materials such as graphene, silicon carbon, metal oxides, and organic materials. Even now, countries and companies are pouring out huge amounts of money to develop new batteries by mobilizing all their capabilities. Reach out your hands. I stretched out both palms and stretched them out. Professor Haman Kim placed a palm-sized battery in his right hand that would fit in a smartphone. Naturally, there was nothing special about it. What do you think? It's light. Is not it? Then how about this? Professor Haman Kim placed the other battery in his opposite hand. It was a battery pack so big and heavy that the palm of my hand fell down. Battery pack made from OTK batteries. Can you feel the difference between the two? Of course I feel it. They are so different in size and weight. They have the same capacity. Yes. The battery on the right can deliver 20 times the performance of an OTK battery with the same mass. Take you and I were surprised at those words. Really? Batteries are growing in importance in industry enough to be called the semiconductor of the future. Demand is overflowing in various fields, not just electric vehicles and ESSs. So how much is this technology worth? What about commercialization? Professor Haman Kim scratched his head. It would be great, but I don't think it would be possible. Taeyong shouted in surprise. Why? There are many good technologies in the world, but not all of them are commercialized. It was decided to adjust the flight schedule as much as possible, to operate the runway 24 hours a day, and to secure the hangar as much as possible. However, there was not enough time and space to accommodate the many private planes. Accordingly, in connection with nearby airports including Gimhae Airport, they landed there and then decided to provide temporary flights. Japan also stepped out here. If they come to Fukuoka Airport, which is close to Jeju Island, they will provide temporary flights. The intention was to put even a spoon on it by passing it through Japan. There is still a lot of time left until the wedding, but people from the financial world, such as investment banks and private equity funds, entered Korea one after another. Korea's financial industry is traditionally weak. Therefore, global IBs were passive in entering the domestic market, such as linking with domestic securities companies or making investments abroad. However, the Korean economy is growing rapidly and has emerged as an important market for investment banks. Golden Gate, which established a branch, saw its great success, and global IBs thought of opening a branch in the international financial complex to be built in Simanjeom this time. Commercial banks as well as investment banks have also considered entering Korea. There are concerns about foreign banks coming in, but Senior Sanjiop shook his head. Well, the Korean financial industry was completely sold out to foreign capital during the IMF. Team leader Jong Ki-hong nodded his head. It was just ripped off. Taeyong narrowed his eyes. But aren't there many banks in Korea? There are many banks. By the way, how much do you think the foreign ownership of the 5 major banks will be? Well, about half. The average is 75%. In the case of CS Bank and Citibank Korea, it is 100%. At this point, only the name is Korean, and in reality, it is no different than a foreign company. Here is not the end. Foreign capital also holds a majority in regional banks named after regions, and large amounts of Japanese funds flow into savings banks and loan businesses. Finance has a huge impact on the national economy. Therefore, in the case of emerging countries, various regulations restrict the acquisition of foreign capital. Korea did the same, but after the Asian financial crisis, it was abolished by the IMF bailout. And as you can see, it has become a playground for foreign capital. Sanjiop Sr. said. There is nothing wrong with coming to Korea, whether it is an investment bank or a commercial bank. It will be easier for companies to raise capital in the future. That's right. Unlike commercial banks, which mainly deal with deposit and loan, investment banks, as the name suggests, focus on professional investment, which is a great help in revitalizing finance. Of course, we should be careful about foreign capital being too harsh. I received a call from Professor Haman Kim. Hello, Professor. You must be very busy these days. He didn't even come to the lab to play. Anyway, I was going to visit soon. How are you? I'm always the same. Research, experiment, meet people. By the way, can't we just ask politicians to stop visiting the institute? When these guys get bored, they bring reporters in, take a look around and take pictures. Professor Ho-min Kim is the only scientific Nobel Prize winner in Korea. And the OTK Research Center is a place to research batteries, which are essential products for all electronic products. Maybe that's why politicians came in and out like poopy puppies as soon as policies on science or new industries came out. Politicians went on a show regardless of the opposition. It's still like this now, but it will be worth seeing later during election season. How about putting dogs and politicians prohibited on the front door? No. Then you might be insulted by the dogs. How do you treat your precious dog like a politician? Oh, it could be. More than that, I think I made something interesting. Would you like to come see it if you have time? Yes. What have you developed? Professor Haman Kim laughed out loud. It's not that great, so don't expect too much. I will go right now. I got into the car and ran with Taekyu. When he arrived at the OTK lab, Professor Haman Kim, who was with his fellow researchers, waved his hand. I'm here. What are you going to show me? Drink a cup of coffee first. Professor Haman Kim personally brewed the coffee mix. We drank it and listened quietly. After researching this and that, I came up with one. I'm curious to the point of getting nervous. What is it? Professor Haman Kim laughed playfully. As you can see, batteries have lagged behind the advancement of electronic devices. Because according to Moore's law, while semiconductor performance increased exponentially, battery capacity increased arithmetically. Right. The OTK battery was able to sweep the market just by doubling the capacity of the basic NCM battery. In the end, the problem is the limitation of the material. That's why we are working hard to develop new materials such as graphene, silicon carbon, metal oxides, and organic materials. Even now, countries and companies are pouring out huge amounts of money to develop new batteries by mobilizing all their capabilities. Reach out your hands. I stretched out both palms and stretched them out. Professor Ho-min Kim placed a palm-sized battery in his right hand that would fit in a smartphone. Naturally, there was nothing special about it. What do you think? It's light. Is not it? Then how about this? Professor Haman Kim placed the other battery in his opposite hand. It was a battery pack so big and heavy that the palm of my hand fell down. Battery pack made from OTK batteries. Can you feel the difference between the two? Read more at wuxiax.com. Of course I feel it. They are so different in size and weight. They have the same capacity. Yes. The battery on the right can deliver 20 times the performance of an OTK battery with the same mass. Taekyu and I were surprised at those words. Really? Batteries are growing in importance in industry enough to be called the semiconductor of the future. Demand is overflowing in various fields, not just electric vehicles and ESSs. So how much is this technology worth? What about commercialization? Professor Haman Kim scratched his head. It would be great, but I don't think it would be possible. Taeyong shouted in surprise. Why? There are many good technologies in the world, but not all of them are commercialized. To borrow from Taegyu's previous words, is it like, all commercially available products are commercialized for the same reason, but products that fail to commercialize fail for different reasons? Because we were ahead of our time, because there were too many defects in the manufacturing process, because it was really useless, because the competitive product was better, because the price was high, because of psychological reluctance, because of government regulations, etc. What's wrong? Stability. Even now, if you decide to increase the battery capacity by 2 or 30%, it is simple. Doing so will only increase the risk of explosion. I think we can fix that somehow. Of course. Money is the problem. For a product, price is as important as quality. How much? Professor Haman Kim held up the battery with his hand. Compared to OTK battery, about 300 times? Even if the capacity is increased by 20 times, not many people will pay the price. Currently, electric vehicles and electric trucks are sufficient with OTK batteries. Therefore, there is no need to pay expensive money to install this battery. But even at a high price, there will definitely be demand for it. For example, drones, airplanes, satellites, etc. If we go into mass production, can't we lower the price? That's the opposite. Are you against it? At my words, Professor Haman Kim smiled mischievously. If we try to mass produce it, it will soar tens of thousands of times. Professor Haman Kim said, looking at us. For now, we call this battery JN battery. JN battery? Did you have my name on it? In principle, JH would be correct. But as I write my English name as Jinyu, according to the pronunciation, I also write the abbreviation as JN. Professor Haman Kim burst out laughing at my question. Ah, I thought you would. Previously it was an OTK battery, this time it was a JN battery. It wasn't built that way, but a large amount of germanium goes into this battery, and the element symbol for germanium is JN. Oh, I see. I knew it was named after my name and I almost liked it. Actually, it has nothing to do with it. Originally, I had no intention of experimenting with germanium, but because your name and abbreviation are the same, I did it just in case. Taeyong patted my shoulder. Then it's all thanks to him. Haha, that's it. Professor Haman Kim began the explanation in earnest. Do you know ash earth? Of course I do. Rare earth element. As the name suggests, it is very rare in the natural world and the amount of mining and trading is small. However, even a small amount can influence the performance of the material, and it is absolutely necessary, so it is called industrial vitamin. Currently, China is the dominant player in the global rare earth market. China's share of the earthworm market is over 80%. In fact, it dominates the global market. Since the market share is overwhelming, rare earths are sometimes used as weapons. As a representative example, when Japan and the Senkaku Islands dispute broke out in 2010, China banned the export of rare earths and received Japan's unconditional surrender. After that, other countries including Japan reduced imports of rare earths from China, and the Chinese economy was on the contrary, was hit. Even now, if the US imposes trade-related pressure, China is responding by reducing its rare earth exports. Professor Haman Kim listed element symbols on the blackboard. Rare earths are SCY La Su PR ND PM Sinu GD TB Di Ho Air TMYB Lu. There are a total of 17, including lanthanides 15 and scandium and yttrium. As you know, the most traded among these is neodymium belonging to the lanthanides. It is common among rare earths, but since it does not exist as a pure substance in nature, it has to undergo a separate extraction process. 5. I see. Taekyu nodded his head eagerly and looked at me. You went to Korea University, so you know this much, right? I nodded my head eagerly and answered with a look in my eyes. Strisk, no. How does the Department of Liberal Arts know that? Still, I think I've heard about neodymium while analyzing the raw material market. Was it used to make magnets? A brief description of each rare earth was followed for about 30 minutes. About the time Taekyu was starting to fall asleep, Professor Haman Kim put down the marker and said, however, this germanium produces less than lutetium. In the first place, it hardly exists in nature and the process of extracting pure substances is very difficult. No matter how expensive rare earths are, they are not as expensive as gold. Lutetium, a representative expensive rare earth, is about half the price of gold. However, in the case of pure germanium, the current market price is about $230,000 per kilogram. Considering that 1 kilogram of gold exceeds $50,000, it is 4 times more expensive. Since these materials are used as the main material for batteries, it is not surprising that the price jumps 300 times. Germanium is rarely used in industry. There is not much reason to use germanium, and almost anything can be substituted with other rare earths. I see. When you think about it, it's normal. In order to be actively used for industrial purposes, a certain amount of supply must be made and the price must be right. It is rare because it is expensive, and because it is expensive, it is not used. The important thing is that even though it is rarely used, the price is that low. But what if we tried to mass-produce JN batteries with this? Naturally, according to the law of supply and demand, prices skyrocket several times or tens of times from now. Did you notice if you had heard this far? There is a bigger problem than supply and demand. From the moment the price rises, speculative capital around the world will rush in like a moth, causing the price to skyrocket even more. This isn't the first time this has happened. Before the financial crisis, when oil prices soared endlessly, speculative capitalists did not even have enough borrowed crude oil storage tanks to fill them up, so they kept tankers full of crude oil floating in the sea. They buy as much as possible and then sell them when the price rises to make a profit. As the price of cobalt rose due to an increase in battery production, speculative capital also jumped in here, and the price of cobalt soared more than fourfold in a short period of time. Speculative capitals manipulated international prices by buying and selling cobalt. However, the price of cobalt, which seems to rise endlessly, has plummeted by more than 80% since the release of OTK batteries, and speculators who jumped into speculation belatedly jumped into the river together. I nodded. I guess speculators around the world will pile up warehouses full of germanium and wait for the price to rise. That's why you said that the price would jump tens of thousands of times if it goes into mass production. Well, it would be difficult to run a factory even if you rake up all the germanium currently on the market anyway. Therefore, mass production is considered impossible. Only then did I understand why the atmosphere of the other researchers was calm. JN battery is an invention that will change the world. However, no matter how good an invention is, it is of no use if it cannot be commercialized. Take, you asked. What if you find a mine with massive deposits of germanium? Professor Haman Kim shook his head. That would be great, but it is highly unlikely. Germanium is still found in rare earth mines. The amount is so small. Even if a new mine is discovered, the percentage of germanium buried there will not be significantly higher. This is similar to rare earth mines. Rare earths are only mined together in mines where several minerals are buried. And in order to mine these rare earths, they literally plow the mines. Adding chemicals to separate certain rare earths from other minerals is a bonus. Even if you are really lucky to find a massively buried mine, extracting the pure substance is a problem. 70% of that price is the cost of extracting what is mixed with other minerals. The other way is to create a similar substance through synthesis. It's not easy either. First of all, stability will be an issue. As you know, chemicals are sensitive to even the smallest changes. If this had been easy, I would not have used rare earths at all. Even now, many researchers are tearing their heads out to develop a technology that can replace or avoid expensive rare earths. Wouldn't it be thanks to these people that we can enjoy the benefits of civilization? Professor Haman Kim said while scratching his head. I won't be too disappointed. Other than this, we are continuing to research ways to replace it with new materials. Maybe we can use this opportunity to find something new. I kept thinking about it even after I returned from work. A prototype is just a prototype after all. In order to solve the problem of heat generation and stability, mass-produce and secure marketability, it is necessary to invest time and manpower to continue research. In most cases, this process fails. This is also the reason why Kodak made the world's first digital camera and Nokia made and discarded a smartphone. It is because they decided that it would not be profitable if they continued to invest. So what about JN batteries? Yuri came up to the CEO's office with a bunch of his materials. I have found the material you mentioned. Thanks. I looked through the data on the global battery market. Currently, the battery market is growing at an average annual rate of over 20%. This growth is of course due to the rapid growth of the electric vehicle market. Innovation is not an entirely new concept. Developing an existing product is also innovation. A smartphone is nothing more than a combination of existing functions into one mobile phone. However, the world has changed from the moment NPL announced phone. The same goes for OTK batteries. OTK batteries have advanced the era of electric vehicles by 5 years. Thanks to advances in battery technology, electric vehicles have been able to outperform internal combustion engines in almost every way. So, how will JN batteries, which are 20 times better than OTK batteries, be used in industry? In fact, increasing the battery capacity is very simple. If you use 2 or 2 batteries and 3 batteries, the usage time will be doubled. The problem is weight and volume. If you want to use a long-lasting phone, can't you just carry a brick-sized smartphone? This is especially true for products whose weight and volume cannot be increased indefinitely. A typical example is drones. A drone is an airplane that is operated without a human being. The fields of use are also diverse. Military use such as reconnaissance and attack, agricultural application of pesticides and fertilizers, surveillance of forest fires or coastal accidents, life-saving use of rescuing people in danger areas or delivering medicines, filming of movies and dramas, children playing with for toys and so on. Delivery services using drones are already being tested, and drones that can carry people have recently appeared. More than 20 companies are already developing the technology, and prototypes have been unveiled at CES. Evair plans to start transporting passengers using manned drones from next year. Perhaps within a few years, the era of flying taxis will open beyond taxis on the road. Drones are powered by batteries and motors to reduce weight and size. So when the OTK battery was launched, the drone industry welcomed it with open arms. The problem is that it is difficult to fly for more than an hour even with an OTK battery. If you load a courier or a person here, the flight time will be cut by less than half. JN battery can solve this problem. If commercialization is possible, wouldn't it be possible to make not only drones but also airplanes powered by batteries? This is beneficial not only for efficiency but also for safety. Bird strike is one of the most common and fatal aviation accidents. A flying bird is sucked into the engine. At this time, there is no solution other than expelling the birds. However, if the driving method is changed to a battery and a motor, it is possible to eliminate the engine altogether. Wouldn't it be possible to take on a new challenge in the global aviation market dominated by Boeing and Airbus by making electric planes? If OTK battery opened the electric vehicle market, JN battery is the key to opening a new era of mobility beyond automobiles. Could completely change the entire industry. Taijayu said. Can't we just solve the price? So that's the problem that can't be solved. Hydrogen batteries, which have more than 4 times the capacity of conventional lithium-ion batteries, are already being used for military purposes. The reason this good technology is not widely used in the private sector is because there are problems with the price or mass production process. If there was a lot of germanium, the JN battery could be made, said. If there is uranium that does not emit radioactivity during nuclear fission, it would make a safe nuclear power plant. If people had wings, they could fly. How is it different from saying, if my father gave me the building, I could play and eat? There is no uranium that does not emit radioactivity during nuclear fission, and humans have no wings. And my dad is not the owner of the building. I came to a conclusion. As long as my father doesn't have a building, he has to study hard and get a job. So unless we can solve the problem of price and production of germanium, commercialization is impossible. I've been struggling for days to find a solution. You came up with a solution for me. Just find a mine with foresight. It's simple. It doesn't open. It doesn't show up. First of all, this is the first problem. After solving the first problem, the second problem awaits. Germanium is not piled up one after another like gold ingots in the mine. The professor said germanium does not exist as a pure substance in nature. Even if you are lucky enough to find a massively buried mine, extracting it is a problem. At least it is enough to melt gold, but germanium has to go through a special process several times. And this process incurs huge costs. This is not the end, but there is also a third problem. There are only 2 companies in the world that have the technology to extract this germanium as a pure substance. These are Beast-Call and Kazan. Monopoly and oligopoly in commodity markets are surprisingly common. OPEC is no different than a globally recognized cartel, and in the grain market Cargill and Monsanto share the global market. There were only 3 or 4 companies that also extracted and sold cobalt. In this way, the production was artificially controlled and the price was raised. Either way, if you do something wrong, you will be caught by the neck of these 2 companies. Can't we just buy one of them? That's not the way. I don't know if there is a willingness to sell there. Then how about a chemical formula to make a compound? I don't even know if there is such a thing, and if I see it, can I know? The chemical formula is not going to be expressed in one line like some E equals mc squared. Wouldn't it be as complex as a fables-made semiconductor design? Moreover, no matter how good a design is, if the process does not follow it, it is of no use. After some research, there are many places that need high-capacity batteries, and the drone market is expected to grow to more than $100 billion within 5 years. This has more than doubled since the introduction of OTK batteries. If JN batteries are commercialized, it is not strange if this turns into $500 billion. There are many opinions that drone delivery and drone taxis are still too early, but what were 1 or 2 things that were thought impossible in the past become reality? Again, if a few regulatory and technical issues are resolved, it may become natural to receive parcels with a drone and go to work on a drone as if it was the case. To do that, the JN battery must come out again. There's no way right now. Maybe time will fix it. Maybe time will fix it. If you think about it, how many technologies have failed to be commercialized for this reason? The sweltering heat was gone and a cool breeze began to blow little by little. Henry returned to Korea, and the preparations for their wedding went smoothly. Hyunju Nuna is still busy, but she's preparing anyway, and the people around her are taking care of it. So if you have money, it will be convenient. I ate at the cafeteria with Taekyu, Eli, and Yuri. Yuri has now fully adapted to her job and she is doing well. It is still very popular among male employees. What will the employees think if they find out that she is the daughter of RCK Brothers Vice Chairman Shin Byung-do? At the end of the meal, team leader Jong Ki-hong came and asked, "Next week is the Korea University Festival. Do you have any plans to go?" A festival? University festivals are usually in May or September. In the case of Korea University, it is the latter. Are you going to play? I'm not going to play. Of course. Team leader Jong Ki-hong said proudly. As the head of the PR team at OTK Company, this is an extension of my work to promote the company and find the necessary talent. So, I am attending all kinds of school events such as OT, MT, and sports competitions as well as festivals. He made it plausible to say that he just plays with his juniors as the PR team leader. By the way, at this point, I'm not sure if I'm a current student or a graduate. No, the current students don't participate this hard, don't they? Ki-hong Sr. worked hard even after graduation, so her juniors flocked to her wedding. Ellie was curious. A university festival? What do you do at the festival? It's just pubs for each class, shows off their talents or sings celebrities to perform and so on. Isn't this the same for all schools? Jong Ki-hong, the team leader, said. CO Park Sang-yeep also said he would go on the last day. He told me to come again from the math department, so he's thinking of showing his face this time. Okay. And taverns are acquaintances after all. That's why the seniors who graduated and sold them to the juniors to cheer up. When a socially successful senior arrives, the juniors will also welcome them. Especially if that senior may help her in finding a job in the future. Ellie's eyes lit up. Wow, that would be fun. Well, actually, our school festivals are famous all over the country because they are not fun. To what extent they are famous, the three universities, Hanqing University, and Houndie University, are collectively called 3H. These three universities are in a fierce battle for the top spot over who makes the festival less interesting. After all, is there even a saying among Korean university students that fools go to Korea university festivals and real fools bring their friends to Korea university festivals? So, smart Korean university students go to other school festivals during the festival. At first, I thought this was because it was only for students who were good at studying, but it doesn't seem to be the case when you look at Yonsudi or Shilla University festivals, where scores are not much different from those of Hankook University. Is it just the difference between the school atmosphere and the budget? So, Kyung-il and Min-young snooped around the Women's University Festival for nothing. Didn't Jin-hoo go with you? Of course. How do you see me? Because I had a girlfriend back then. By the way, that girlfriend is now married to a chaebol family and is living well. Will there be? Team leader Jong Ki-hong shook his head. It is all a thing of the past. These days, when it comes to festivals at Korea University, other schools also recognize them. Really? Did the school suddenly increase the festival budget? Yuri agreed. The chief is right. There are so many people that I can't even compare it to when I entered the school. A lot of students from other schools also came. Team leader Jong Ki-hong explained the reason. Ever since last year, EDM Entertainment has been hiring and putting everything from event organizers to singers at an affordable price. Last year, a famous MC Deng Dong came and went to the chess show. The quality of college festivals is determined by which celebrities come. It's not that the student council pays a lot of money to call celebrities. Of course, it's not free and everything is paid by the tuition paid by the students. As much as money is spent on anything, results come out. But since Hankook University is a national university, the budget has been short. It is said that the representative's favorite singer will also come to this festival. Who are you? Maybe Kim Ju-kwang. Pure Girls. The agency said that they would unconditionally perform free of charge at Korea University events in the future as long as you call them. How do you repay a favor like this? After it became known that I invested, Pure Girls became an issue in an instant and now they are on the rise. Although it didn't get first place on the airwaves, it took first place on cable and for a short time on the soundtrack it climbed to first place and now it is at 7th place. No matter how much big agency pushes them, the kids who can't float won't float. It was made possible because of me, but it must be said that I had the ability to rise to that opportunity. Looking at this, it seems that Taekyu has an eye on this side. But why do I know this? Anyone who sees it would know that I am a real fan. Doesn't the kids in our class not participate too much? The Hankook University Business School is not a place where unity is so good. There is an atmosphere where people come and those who don't come to festivals or whatever. So I think MT was done on a small scale. The atmosphere is completely different these days. How hard are the children participating in each event? Okay. Who among the seniors holds the military flag? Team leader Jong Ki-hong nodded his head. This is what the representative caught. Yes. Didn't the cutoff line in our department not get cut thanks to the CEO? How difficult is it to get into business administration at Korea University these days? In particular, it is said that the competition rate with medical schools is similar this year. Is that enough? If it had been like this in the past, I wouldn't have been able to attend. Of course. It is a free pass for employment in large corporations and financial institutions. That's why the children's sense of belonging is unique, and they actively participate in various events. Taekyu, who was listening to the story next to him, nodded his head. When an organization performs well, the loyalty of its members increases. This is the correct answer. I asked Senior Ki Hong. But aren't you treated like an uncle when you go to school? Well, it is. If the representative also goes, he is now an uncle. I was surprised. Yes. Me. Team leader Zhang Ki Hong said as if it was natural. The children who have been discharged from the military and have returned to school are much younger than the CEO. If you go to school during your class, you will be teased for being a fossil. I heard it and it is. Now for kids who have just graduated from high school, just 1 or 2 years older is like an uncle. When I saw the seniors who returned to school in my freshman year, I thought, what kind of uncle goes to school? But I've reached the age where I'm being treated like that. I am the uncle. I am the uncle. I was about to cry for some reason, but Ellie had her eyes twinkling before I knew it. I want to go. Yes. It's a college festival. I've always wanted to visit once. Will Jinhoo take you? Well, I can't go. It's not that I swindled my junior's money. I just saw my friend next to me. Then Taekyu said, I'm going. I asked absurdly. Huh. You too. Annika told me to come over to the tavern. The Norwegian princess is also working hard to raise sales. Okay. After all, the tavern is a place for acquaintances. You can go and buy the whole tavern. Ellie clapped her hands. This time let's all go play together. Will you go with Yuri? Read more at wuxiax.com. Yuri immediately nodded her head. If you go, I will go too. Good. I'll have to ask Jessica to go too. Dean was surprised. Your sister too? Yes. Jessica is also from Korea University. Anyway, I'm going to go give the professors a wedding invitation. If Hyunju Nuna goes, Henry will of course go with him. Here our Korean University students and the Korean University students in Golden Gate also go. Looks like you're all going to some college festival. This year, as always, the festival season at Korea University has returned. It has been a long time since the meaning of the university festival has faded due to the unprecedented difficulty in finding employment, but it was still one of the few opportunities to feel the romance of college days. The Hankook University Festival, which was once painful for both the performers and viewers, started to have sponsors in line, and the scale grew bigger and bigger. Now, it has been reborn as a local festival in which students from other schools as well as local residents participate. Business students looked at the festival program schedule and said in a low voice, Hey, this lineup is also gorgeous. 5. There's Pure Girls. Hey, they should definitely come. It's like Jinhoo Sunbeam picked it up and raised it. How much does it cost to call all these celebrities? In the middle of class, everyone's minds were somewhere else. On the campus seen from the window, several students were preparing for the festival. Professor Myung-Joon Kim closed the book within 20 minutes of starting the lecture. Enough for today, everyone go get ready for the festival. Studying is good, but when you play you have to play. After Kang Jin-woo, I played like that in my freshman year, but I was successful. At that, the students clapped and whistled in unison. Wow! Professor is the best. Thank you. The freshman ran in front of Professor Myung-Joon Kim. Professor, Jinhoo Sunbeam didn't come to this year's festival. Can't the professor call me? I mean, we've never seen Kang Jinhoo Sunbeam. Professor Myung-Joon Kim shook his head. I don't know about Kang Jinhoo, and Young Ji-hong said he would come. Ah, I see Ki Hong Sunbeam every time. It's good to be used to it. Professor Myung-Joon Kim smiled at the continued torchlight of the new students. Hey, let's talk about coming over to play. I received a call from Professor Myung-Joon Kim. If you have time, come to school during the festival. The kids aren't coming to you, it's very upsetting. Okay. That's how popular I am. Anyway, since Ki-hong senpai was going, I thought I'd go with him. Hey, I don't want to tell my kids. Why? It's not fun if you know in advance. Will you come on the last day? Yes. How about a drink together? I'm fine. After all, I plan to meet my friends as I go. When I called, Min Kyung-il said excitedly. I wanted to go, but that's fine. Gaza. I used to like to play. During festivals and sports competitions I burned myself. Hey. See you then. Does Yuri come too? Why? No, it's good to see your face after a long time. Yuri is not interested in you. This time I called Kim Min-young. Unlike Kyung-il, who served in the military as a Katyusha soldier, Min-young is currently serving in the defense industry after graduating. As soon as Min-young answered her phone call, she poured out her complaints. This makes a lot of sense. There is no such thing as an alternative service, a completely modern version of slavery. Whether it's active duty, public service, or alternative service, the job you are doing is the most difficult. Whatever you do, you are better than the military. Think of the soldiers of the armed forces who are struggling in this heat and work hard. But what happened? I'm going to a school festival this time, so let's go together. Kyung-il also decided to come. I want to go too because here in Cheongnam, I have to take a vacation when I think about the time I go back and forth, but I'm crazy busy until the end of this month. If not, see you next time. Let's talk about it first. Okay. Don't overdo it. After a while, Min-young called again. Hey, you can go. You think it won't? I thought so too, but he said he had an appointment with Jin Ho-kong, so he told me to go right away. I think he was worried about buying the whole company and cutting it all down. Hyunju's sister, who heard Ellie at dinner, responded that it was ridiculous. You want to go to the Korea University Festival? Yes. It's fun. Hyunju Nuna touched her forehead as if in pain. I don't know, but our school festivals are famous for being boring. Seeing my sister say this, it seems that 10 years ago, it had been consistently uninteresting. This isn't easy either. Is it history and tradition that festivals are no fun? Fortunately, this tradition has recently been broken. It's been a lot of fun these days. At Eli's words, Hyunju's older sister firmly shook her head. I'm not going. You said you should give me a wedding invitation? What festival are you going to give a wedding invitation to? We decided to set up a separate table for dinner later. I expected Hyunju Nuna to come out like this, so I hired Henry in advance. Henry said with a smile. How about going on a date? I want to go there too. I also want to see what kind of school Hyunju went to. Yeah, right. Eli said quickly. At a time like this, it's good to go out with everyone. A lot of Golden Gate employees go there. Although, what are you going to do? What are you doing? I have to tell my juniors about Golden Gate. OTK company even goes to the head of the PR team to promote it. But what if all the talented people are lost in this way? The head of the legal team is full of love. At the continued persuasion of the two, Hyunju Nuna nodded her head as if she could not help it. Okay, I'll go. You can go, I'll say it for sure, but I'm just going to show her face. I didn't know I was going to go to a festival at this age. Me too. My class number is a fossil. Add 10 to this and it's almost ammonite, isn't it? Taeyong just nodded his head. Well, my older sister is a Cambrian student. Aren't you older than the professor? Then Hyunju Nuna immediately made an impression. Shut up. Yep. I mean, he made up to the second verse to make my sister angry. Are you here because you want to get mad? After Ellie left her company early, she rushed home and hurried her preparations. I'm just going out to play, so I don't need to decorate. What do you mean? They're college students, aren't they all young? Jinhoo friends are also coming, so I have to look as pretty as possible. Ellie wore a white sleeveless shirt over her skinny jeans. Her long legs and her toned, curvy body were exposed. Even with only basic makeup and eye makeup, she looked like a model. How is it? I raised her thumb. It's like a college student. Hey, thank you. I also wore a linen shirt from jeans instead of a suit. This makes her feel like she's going to a real festival. By the time we finished preparing, Yuri also came over to our house. Yuri was wearing a sky blue Sprite dress and a thin white cardigan over it. She untied the blonde hair she wore neatly tied up at work and she did a little perm. You look like a college student. Absolutely. She just graduated from me. Taekyu was wearing jeans and a t-shirt with a cartoon character in it. Then go. What more do you need? I nodded. Huh. Change into another t-shirt before tearing off that character. After finishing preparations, we set off for Korea University. The festival is held over 3 days. The double peak is of course the last day. A lot of graduates usually come on this day as well. This year the lineup has become even more spectacular. Usually 5 or 6 teams come to college festivals, but there are 9 teams at Hankook University. All this thanks to the growth of EDM entertainment. The lineup was gorgeous and there were several groups that could be called Hallyu stars. Since there were so many performers, the performance took place over 2 days. Surprisingly, people were bustling from the front door. I looked at it and stuck my tongue out. If anyone sees it, they'll think it's a festival, said Ellie. It's a celebration right now. So, it was characteristic of our school that it seemed that there was no festival even when there was a festival. There were even students who didn't know it was a festival because the class was still going on. It would have been unimaginable if it had been in the past, but the Korea University Festival has really improved a lot. The parking lot was already full and severe congestion occurred. Fortunately, our car has already been registered as a related vehicle for EDM. Is that okay? Of course. Who else is as relevant as we are? Taekyu is going to go to the engineering school bar where Annika is anyway. You won't be selling your face for nothing by staying with us. Are you going alone? I decided to come later. How about Min Ha-young? I cried that the deadline wasn't over yet. I told him not to think about coming until it was over. Can't we delay the deadline by a day or so? Taeyong shook his head resolutely. What are you talking about? No matter how fun a festival is, the deadline comes first. Deadlines are promises to our readers. All writers who think about going out on a topic that can't meet deadlines should reflect. If I hear this, Min Ha-young will cry again. Yuri looked at her phone and said, Seniors Ki-hong and Hyunjong just arrived. Tell me we're going too. Hankook University Business School students wore gwadi-like uniforms and solicited hard work. The students who saw it poked out their tongues. Hey, since when did our department become so united? At our time, our seniors had to force us to do it. Isn't it all thanks to Kang Jin-hoo Sunbeam? She is the world's best investor and her richest man Kang Jin-hoo Gagak. And there was even talk of OTK Company being the world's largest investment company and, in fact, the world's #1 market cap. As such, the pride that the students felt about the school and department was unique. These days, freshmen go to and from school as well as when they go on a blind date. Hey you idiots! The students who said that were also wearing gwadi. The program was in progress on stage. This year's event was also hosted by MC Tadang Dong, just like last year. While solicitation was in full swing at each department's pub, 2 graduates appeared in the business department's pub. Hey guys! Long time no see. It was Yong Ji-hong and Ju Hyun-jong. The freshmen who found them bowed politely to them. Hello, senior. Still, the students with thick hair said it like a joke. Did you come again? It's been a long time. Don't you come here too often? Who knows that you are still in school? Even with that said, everyone was welcoming. It is also true that Jong Ki-hong is the head of the OTK company's PR team. Moreover, thanks to his frequent purchases of expensive meals for his juniors, he was well known as a good senior. Jung Gi-hong said looking at his juniors. I know you won't be happy, so I have a special guest today. Really? Who are you? Now is the time to come. After a while, a man in jeans and a shirt appeared. Next to him was a woman who felt like a model. Business students shouted in surprise. Senior Kang Jin-hoo. Freshmen and current students alike stood side by side and bowed their heads towards me. Hello, senior. Oh yes. Hi. Nice to meet you. Anyone who sees it will know how to hold the army. I saw a lot of faces I saw at Ki-hong-senpai's wedding, but there were more faces I didn't know. After the greeting, photo baptism with juniors continued for a while. Aren't authentication shots essential in today's world? The female juniors approached Eli. Good morning. I really liked the ad. You really look like a model. Ellie's commercials have to be famous. I muttered beside me. Chip chip. Then Ellie poked her on the side with her smiling expression and said in a low voice. One more word and I will kill you. Yeah. I quickly shut my mouth to live. You look prettier in person. I bought the Bester rash guard after seeing the ad. Can I take a picture together? Ellie enjoyed taking pictures together. An event stage was installed at the end of the playground and bars were lined up on both sides. If you look at it up to this point, it is similar to before, but unlike back then, it is crowded with people. Hey, I'm here. How are you? Kyung-ail and Min-young came first and were drinking among themselves. We sat down at the table. 4 drinks, beer, soju and makgeolli were served, and for snacks, Pajeon and galbenji sauce were served. It must be delicious. I shook my head at Eli's words. It just looks like it. Don't expect the taste from the department store. Ellie tore up her Pajeon and put it in her mouth. Then she looked at me and said, It's delicious. Yes. I was surprised to eat Pajeon. I wasn't expecting it at all, but surprisingly it's edible. Oh, it's delicious. I think this could be sold in a restaurant. Did any of the freshmen who run a restaurant even come in? Senior Ki-hong shook her head. It's all thanks to HMR. Home meal replacement, HMR, is a simple home meal. Can be said that it is an evolution of instant cooking. Nowadays, all you have to do is make the dough and pour it into the frying pan. With the development of simple home-cooked meals, it is now possible to eat proper food at the department pub. Advances in technology make life richer. Ellie asked me, how about coming back to school after a long time? It's good. It reminds me of the past. Look, did you have a good time coming? I looked around my juniors. Everyone feels like they are college students. Even the 3rd and 4th graders looked like little kids, not to mention the freshmen. I guess I'm really old. Naturally, among the students, there was no one who could be called my senior. Even if it were, I wouldn't come to this place. This is what it feels like to be a fossil class. I was also young at the time. At my words, Kyung-ail put on a rotten expression. What are you talking about? When I first saw you, I thought you were a returning student. Huh. Shut up and have a drink. We bumped the glasses. Rumors of my arrival quickly spread throughout the school, and there was a commotion outside. Hey. You came after Kongjin. Wow. Really? You say you are in business and a pub with your lover. What? Where are you? People flocked to the scene as if they were watching celebrities. Some of them were carrying smartphones and gimbals and taking videos. It seems that the festival was being broadcast live on the internet. Fortunately, the juniors took care of them and barricaded them with their bodies to prevent them from entering the tavern. From here on, only guests are allowed to enter. We're going to buy some drinks too. 2 bottles of beer, please. I guess it's because of me that I left all the pubs and came here. If I show my face, I'll be able to attract subscribers. Then leave your smartphone and gimbal and go inside. I'll give it back when I leave. Oh no, can't we just say hi for a moment? No. 1 second. No. We don't do things like our seniors' annexation. They were forced to take a step back in the defense of their juniors. Ellie asked curiously, what are those people? I do not know. It's like Capria TV BJ. At my words, Ellie blushed and was startled. BJ? How could you say such a thing in school? I waved my hand. Oh no, that's not what Ellie thinks. Then Ellie smiled meaningfully. What did I think? Please tell me. Are you here? All my juniors are watching right now. How do you say that? Maybe this is the revenge of the past? When I couldn't say anything, Eli said, I was thinking of a broadcasting jockey. BJ is a broadcasting jockey. What else is there? Oh yes. Well, yes. But why did I think of something else? Am I trash? Seeing my expression, Ellie burst into laughter and whispered in her ear. Actually, that's what I was thinking. I really can't. As I was having a drink with her friends, the sun slowly began to set. The festival begins in earnest after the sun goes down.